Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey saying the company is banning political ads from its platform. In a series of tweets, Dorsey said he thinks the reach of political messages should be what he calls earned, not bought. He wrote that paying to have a message amplified ends up forcing it on Twitter users as opposed to the message earning a wider reach through account follows and retweets. Dorsey making those comments as Facebook was reporting its third quarter results and about an hour before its Q3 conference call. Facebook has received criticism, of course, in the past several weeks over its policy to neither fact-check nor remove political ads placed by politicians. CEO Mark Zuckerberg addressing the situation when he spoke with analysts yesterday.
Although I've considered whether we should not carry these ads in the past, and I'll continue to do so, on balance, so far I've thought that we should continue. We estimate that these ads from politicians will be less than 0.5% of our revenue next year. So that's not why we're doing this. To put this in perspective, the FTC fine that these same critics said wouldn't be enough to change our incentives was more than 10x bigger than this. So the reality is that we believe deeply that political speech is important, and that's what's driving this.
Joining us right now to continue this conversation is Peter Kaufman. He's the founder and principal of political consulting firm Blue Jacket Strategy. He's also a veteran of Andrew Cuomo's campaign for governor and Hillary Clinton's Senate campaign. Also, Anish Chopra is joining us, president of Care Journey. He served as the first U.S. chief technology officer under President Obama. He now serves on Facebook's health advisory board. And, of course, our guest host is here, Jeff Yang, as well. I'm going to start with you because you're now across from me. You look at this decision, who do you side with, Mark Zuckerberg or Jack Dorsey?
I think this is a move in the right direction.
Which?
In Twitter with Jack Dorsey. I think this is right. Just the nature of these type of ads, they are so hyper-targeted. They're able to gin up support very quickly. I don't think this is going to make a big difference on Twitter's bottom line.
Right.
So I think it's a tremendous PR move without real impact on their revenue.
What do you make of the other side of this, which is to say that it just makes it harder for anybody going up and against an incumbent?
It's hard to see that. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez didn't take out Joe Crowley because she had a bunch of promoted tweets. You know, that's not really how political campaigns work. No one is using promoted Twitter to sort of to get in there and win an election.
Let's take Twitter out of it. Let's talk Facebook. Let's talk Insta. Let's talk about all of the other social media out there that are approaching this similarly with Facebook.
I don't know how you sustain an argument that you allow politicians and political candidates to state outright lies on your platform, pay to serve them to highly targeted, mobilized groups of voters, and say that it's okay, and just say that's free speech. I don't know how you sustain that.
Anish, where do you land
Have you
on
seen
this?
cable TV? The different echo chambers that you can tune into on I mean, what's a lie and what's not? No, I know, but it's just you need to be very discerning as a consumer nowadays to all of this stuff, and we're all big boys, right?
I'm not sure we are all big boys, and I think that's a
I don't
distinction.
want people deciding whether I'm a big boy or not.
You can go on cable news and you can disparage a war hero and say that he's not a real American.
Right.
And if that's a debate, we can have that debate back and forth.
Amy Klobuchar, you've got 17 more in the Democratic Party. How does Andrew Yang, Amy Klobuchar, how do they earn the notoriety to compete in the election?
I mean, that's the whole process, right? I don't see sort of shutting off this one channel.
So should you do it with all media, TV, or just targeting just Facebook, where it's so targeted?
Well, I mean that's sort of what we're talking about, and just with respect to Twitter, I mean it doesn't.
So these are unique situations. You're not saying political advertising.
I'm not saying that political advertising is evil and should be banned.
Okay.
Well, but let me ask you a different question, and I'll ask it of Anish. To me, the issue is either you either need to police I think the issue is, do you police the advertising? And if you're not going to police the advertising, should you do it at all? And I think that was the question effectively that Jack Dorsey was trying to answer.
Look, let me just tell you from my perspective, step one is the positive step that Jack said, here's what we're going to do in the interim. My view is step two is we're going to grade this as if it's effective or not. Will the industry come together and regulate itself to make sure that these key definitions are met? What constitutes harm? What constitutes political advertising? What are the protocols when there's an accusation of disinformation? If Twitter, Google, and Facebook come together and reach consensus before we have congressional action, then this is going to be seen as a positive step. If it's just, one platform against the other having a different interpretation, then we've not made much material progress.
Jeff, let me ask it to you actually in the traditional classic way, classic sense. You're on the board of AT&T, owns Time Warner, all sorts of TV channels. Would you support your channels broadcasting advertising that is factually inaccurate and that you know to be factually inaccurate in advance?
Well, let me first say that I'm not deep in what the regulations are, but my understanding is that there are different sets of regulations for traditional media sources that don't yet apply for the online sources. And so I would support some level of truth and fact checking in what is said. There's opinion and there's statement of fact.
In the old days, we would make TV ads. Right. And, you would sort of stay up all night because you didn't want that little box in the paper, the fact check box in the ad box to say, some of your numbers were wrong. Your tax cut's only going to create 10,000 jobs, not 15,000 jobs. Oh, my gosh. That is such ancient history. And now you have people just fabricating lies. I just don't see how you sustain that conversation going forward. Something has to change, and it's the responsibility of the folks running that platform to make sure that the content going out, if they're turning a profit off of this content, don't they have an inherent responsibility there to make sure that it's actually factual? It seems like a basic point.